History has a just weird way of repeating itself, or at least rhyming. That is the theme of the new podcast. Rachel Maddow presents Deja News with longtime producer Isaac Davy Aronson. The 6-episode series explores how history provides insight into current events. Here is a clip from the first episode.
If you have watched The Rachel Maddow Show on MSNBC, you may have noticed that we often look for stories from history to help us make sense of what's happening now. So today, Isaac is here with this story, this kind of historical antecedent for January 6th.
And it's not just a similar event. It happened on a similar date, the 6th, February 6th, 1934. And while this event isn't well known in this country, it's very well known in the country where it happened, in France. In fact, just like our Capitol attack is just called January 6th, the assault on the French Parliament in 1934 is to this day simply known as February 6th, even almost 90 years later. Which would suggest that if these events and their aftermaths really are similar, we may be living with January 6th for a long time.
Which is reason enough for me to want to know if history can help here. If the real history of something that was very much like our January 6th can help give us smarter expectations about what's likely to happen here next.
Joining me now is my esteemed colleague and host of the Rachel Maddow Show, my pal, Rachel Maddow. I am so excited to get to talk to you. We're just obsessed with the same things, and I love it so much. My biggest proof that the Earth is round is that we're just walking on a big wheel, and we're just going around and doing the same things over and over again. Please explain this exciting episode about the pre-MAGA.
Well, I'm so glad that you did the thing about the John Birch Society and the relationship between the Republican Party and what they saw as their too extremist wing and what made them seem not ready for prime time. And so they had to have kind of a purge, but not one that pushed those extremists too far out of the town. For me, that stuff is helpful, not just because history is fun to learn. History, I think, particularly when it comes to political science, I feel like history is grounding. Like so many of the things that we are facing are recurrences, are things that cyclically come around again, particularly when it's about stuff that's structurally permanent. The relationship between governing parties and extremism, like that's kind of a structurally permanent thing. And when the extremists get a hold of the governing party and start thrashing it around a little bit, some sort of predictable things happen. And if you know how that went in other countries, in other circumstances, in other generations before us in our own country, I think it can help us feel less overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. It can help us have more reasonable expectations for what's going to happen next. And it can help us learn from other Americans who had to contend with these things before. I mean, history doesn't repeat exactly, but there are recurring themes, recurring incidents that to me are the best explanation that we have sort of from our forebears, the best help that we have from them in terms of how to contend with some of this stuff today. So I love that you think about these things this way too.
No, I agree. And the thing is, I sometimes tell my Republican friends, don't worry. The Democrats had this problem. They have been here. They've been through this nightmare of having an extremist, racist, anti-black, like really wild out there party, and they recovered so much. They did the black president. They had a black president. Like, you can fix it, but you're right. It takes time and work and knowing what it's about. But the idea that this also happened in France, which is interesting because we do think of the French Revolution, but you're talking about a more modern version of a French Revolution that is very similar to what happened on January 6th.
Yeah, I mean, when we think about the fight against fascism in World War II, we think about European fascism, which rose during the 20s and the 30s. And when we think about France in that context, if at all, it's about France being occupied by the Nazis. They had the Vichy government, which is a collaborationist, terrible government. But there was also a big native fascist right-wing movement in France. And in 1934, for a whole bunch of very interesting reasons, involving a whole bunch of sort of a very interesting big cast of characters, they had a January 6th. They had a right-wing violent mob attack the seat of government to stop the peaceful transfer of power. And it happened on February 6th in 1934. And when they marched on the French Parliament, it worked. They actually stopped the transfer of power to the center-left prime minister who was supposed to be giving his inaugural speech that day in their parliamentary system. And they instead installed this sort of pro-fascist, very right-wing government. It worked. It didn't work forever, but it did work in the short run. And so it helps us imagine what might have happened if January 6th had worked that day. I think it helps us realize what the sort of short and medium term consequences could be. One of the really interesting consequences in France is that after the fascists and the pro-fascists did this, it made everybody on the center and the left get over their differences, unify as anti-fascists, and force them out, which is very interesting. It also set the stage for very dark days during the Nazi occupation a few years later. And in the long run, 90 years after they had that incident in 1934, France is still contending with it. It still resonates in their politics today. There are still right-wingers in France who celebrate it and tell lies about it and say it was this, Will Be Wild, a great tourist visit to the capital that day. So all of that, I think, is helpful for us in terms of setting expectations for how it might live on in our politics and how we might react to it, even in the sort of medium term.
Do you feel like part of what we and what societies have to kind of learn, and this is a very young country, the United States, as opposed to, the European countries that we came from or the African nations that are ancient civilizations, is that there's always a percentage of extremism and of extremists. They just are. They just exist. The polling for the support for the extreme parts of the MAGA movement, it's always about a third. It's a third, it's a third, it's a third, no matter what the issue is. Do you believe that Donald Trump is still president? A third, right? And that maybe there's some way that society's just kind of learned to live with the existence of a paranoid sort of part of its politics, but not to be overtaken by it. Is that the way you think about it?
Yeah, well, yes. And every country is different. Every country has its own history and its own inheritance. I feel like one of the things that I'm starting to get more sort of comfortable recognizing in our own age is that in a democracy, there is a kind of centripetal force where in a democracy, what are you trying to do? Essentially, you're trying to run a country where everybody gets a say, where all citizens get some say in how things go. There's always going to be some group of people in a democracy who feel like, you know what? I am not getting enough of what I want out of this democracy. And what this country needs is more of what I want. And so therefore, we need to get rid of democracy so me and people like me can run this thing because we're supposed to. And that is a constant tension in a democracy. And it constantly throws off different kinds of extremist movements and authoritarian movements, particularly from the right, particularly from the business classes and stuff on the far right. And we should expect it. And we should find ways to stabilize our democracy by not being shocked when those things happen, by learning from other examples in our history and in other countries' history of how they helped extremists sort of back into the governing fold and let democracy stand despite their efforts to undermine it.
Well, one way to do that would be to not have a president that's governing from prison.